Hey everybody, Cowboy here. Today we have a clip regarding stop losses and at least one method for setting a stop loss. There are many. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see our website and QR code, or if you wait until after the video clip, you can find out more about how to find us and what we do. For now, enjoy the clip. The question was how to use ATR to kind of for a stop loss. Okay, so we've talked a lot about stop losses, so we'll briefly go over that because this is the beginner course, but let's just say that I expect price to, see, I'm looking at this. I'm going to go to a higher time frame just because of the way this chart is acting. Okay, so let's say that I expect price. I'm going to do some measurements here real quick. I'm going to look at this as a high time frame move down, and I'm going to say that I'm exiting here. Just some real quick and dirty trade measurement, right? So let's say that I want to enter a trade right here. Let's say my algo says go, right where price is right now, okay? And I'm counting on the price to head up to here. Now, maybe it goes, it doesn't look like what I just drew. Maybe, let me zoom in, by the way. Hold on. Make it a little easier for people to see all the numbers. Okay, let me delete that and let me expand this. And okay, back to it. So yeah, let's say that I expect price to head, maybe it'll kind of pull one of these and then like this and like that. Okay, that's what I expect the price to do. That's what my algo says it's likely to do. It might take a slightly different path, but that's the plan. So I'm going, but it could maybe even come down to here, right? So I want to make sure I protect my trade. And anytime I take a trade, I use this long position box for if I'm going long. If I'm betting on the price going up, I use what's called a long box. There's also a short box. So let's just say I am betting, I don't know, it's not the word I like to use, but let's say that I am risking that the price may go down. I would use the short position box, but I'm risking the price is going up. Okay, so I'm going to put the box tool right here. Okay, and I have this area where if price heads down, I'm losing money, right? If price heads up, I'm making money. Okay, that's how this box works, right? And I've done my math and I've done all my measurements, and I think that I'm going to exit the trade right at this blue line. So I'm going to extend the green profit area to that blue line, right? But how do I determine where I'm going to exit the trade if it goes against me is the question, right? So what does that mean? Well, look, anytime I take a trade, there's always a chance the price is going to go against me, right? And so we're not going to really go too far into stop losses and all that. If you could always look up what's a stop loss. That's a super basic concept, but what it means is that if the trade goes against me, I want to get out of it before it does too much damage. And you'll notice that there's a ratio here. You can see it on the screen. It's right now it's 2.31. And so let's just pretend my stop loss was right here. Let's say I did the math. I used an ATR, which we're going to demonstrate. It's not going to be exactly this, but it may look a lot like this. But let's say that this is the number. Well, that means that I have 2.31 times the amount of profit compared to the amount of loss. So if the price goes against me and I exit the trade, and let's just say I risk $1,000, right? Well, I lose $1,000. But if the price goes in my direction and I exit the trade at the top of my original profit plan, then I make $2,300, really $2,310, because you have a risk to reward ratio of 2.31, you see. So you see how the green box is 2.31 times the size of the blue, which is my risk. Now, most of the time, people are going to have this coded as red, okay? So, for example, in my current trade that I'm in, you'll notice I have about a 2-to-1. So I flipped over right now on the screen to the USD CAD, which is my short from this morning, and I have a 2.19 risk to reward. So if I had risked $100, then I would be making $219. Or if I risked $1,000, I'd be making $2,190. That means that if the price goes and I get out of it, if I automatically exit with what's called a stop loss, I lose 1,000. But if price goes to my target all the way, then I make 2,190. Okay, so that's how stop losses work. Okay, so in this example, what we're going to do is we're going to use a stop loss. We're going to use what's called an average true range. And we're going to use that to determine where I want to exit this trade. And a lot of people, look, first of all, when you look at the market, there are pivot points, right? And pivot points respect past pivot points. So for example, you can notice if you're on an uptrend, let's go to the past here. We're going to go back. If you're on an uptrend, and let's just say back in June, I wanted to go long right here. Say Algo said go long, right? And, I determined I wanted to exit right there. Well, I can use these pivot points down here where price kind of came down and then came back up. Price tends to respect those past points, right? See how price came down and then kept going up? And you notice that there was one strong pivot point back here, way down low. See that? So looking at this pivot point down low and then price respecting that tells me that chances are price is going to continue not to go below this point. So I might put my stop loss a little below here, like maybe somewhere down here, right? So just to be safe. And then if my exit was right here, I'm looking at about, what is this, like 2.5 to 1? Oh no, it's a 1.85 to 1. That means I would lose 1,000 or make $1,850, right? So I'm tipping the odds in my favor such that if I lose a lot less than I win. Okay, so how do we determine where to put this stop loss? How do we determine where the best place to exit the trade is if it goes against us? Well, I can tell you how I do it. You're gonna have to do your own research and do it your way, but I will share how I do mine. Okay, and well, how with some of my algos I do mine, because I have different algos with different methodologies. But this is a kind of a common method using what's called an average true range. Okay, so average true range looks back at all these candles, a certain amount of candles before it, I think 14, depending on how you set it up. And it looks at the average range of the candle from top to bottom, and then it averages that out. So you have an idea of how far these candles are going to go. And when you have an idea of how far these candles are going to go, then you have an idea of how far they're not going to go, right? So let's do the math here. Let's actually bring up the ATR. Okay, so you go to your indicators and you type in ATR, and this comes free with what do you call it? Trading View, right? Which is the software that we use for charting, at least that I use. You all might use something else, like maybe MetaTrader or whatever that is, but I use Trading View. And I click on average true range. And that brings up an oscillator on the bottom of the screen that I'm going to code yellow just to make it easier to see. Okay, so what I do is I know if you look at this, it says ATR 14 RMA. That means that it looks back at 14 candles and it calculates the range. Okay, so just to briefly explain that, because there's not a lot of time, the range of this candle, this big wick blue candle right here, the top of it is here, the bottom of it is here. That range is going to be from 106.98, it's $1.06 and 98 thousandths, up to $1.07 442, right? So however many pips that is, that's a certain amount of pips. It's going to be something like 18 pips, right? So 18 thousandths of a penny in this case. It's not always going to be that, pennies or whatever. It depends on what currency you're trading, but you're getting an average amount of distance that one of these candles can swing. And it's based on adding all 14 of the last 14 candles up and then averaging that out. Okay, that's what an ATR is. So what I do is I look for the most in this particular kind of trading methodology, it's not always the case, I look at the most prominent pivot point. Okay, the one that matters the most based on the time frame. So I'm looking at a recent low. right? And that's going to be down here at 1.06861. That's $1.06 and 86 thousandths. Okay. And we're looking at the euro versus the dollar, right? So we're looking at euro in terms of the dollar. So right now, at this point in time, the euro is worth $1.07.27, right? So it's $1.07 and 27 thousandths of a cent. Okay. So at this point, though, at the very low, it was worth $1.06 and 86 thousandths, which is 1.06861. So I know that is where the bottom of the swing was. So what I do is I look at the ATR as it is now, right? So I'll draw a line through that, see, and you can see that it is 18.4 thousandths. It's hard if I put my cursor on it, some things happen. So if you look to the bottom right, you'll see that it's 0.00184, right? So our bottom was 1.06861. Our ATR is 0.00184. So I bust out my calculator, which I will do on the screen here so everybody can kind of see. And then I take the low, which was 1.06861, and I subtract 0.00184, which is the ATR. 184, and I get 1.06677. So I will go ahead and recode this to 1.0. We'll get out the calculator and see that number again. 1.06677. And that's going to put that line back down here. It was up here, now it's down here. So I've subtracted the ATR from this bottom, and I've gotten this distance right here. And this is where my ATR would be if I'm doing a 1 ATR stop. And that leaves me with a 2.1 risk to reward ratio. That means that if I am risking $1,000 and price goes against me, and I automatically get out of this trade by setting a stop loss, then I'm losing $1,000. I've limited my losses. Now, if price goes in my favor towards my target, and hits my target, then I would make $2,100 less commissions. So that's how a stop loss works. So we are live every weekday, 8:30 AM EST, giving out free content. Come check us out on YouTube. Come talk to us. Go over to the website. That's www.algofactory.tech. Again, www.algofactory.tech. And for a limited time promotional offer, we are giving out memberships at $49.99 a month. There's a ton that we're offering over there. Come see what that's about. Also, you can see our Twitter link. All the links are up on YouTube. Come talk to us on social media. See us on the live YouTube videos. We hope to see you soon.